So I'm sure you guys have seen that meme that used to go around that went something like, oh, men will sit around and start a podcast instead of going for therapy, right? And it's funny because it has an element of truth to it, right? Obviously. But I actually think that starting a podcast, or at least sitting around with a couple of friends and airing your thoughts, is actually a very sensible step in the right direction for a lot of people, and maybe even more sensible than going to therapy itself. Right, so like that's a little bit complicated, right? Because people have different ideas of what therapy is, and different therapists practice it differently, right? But genuinely, sitting around and actually forcing yourself to articulate what you think, right, to another person, makes you actually think a lot clearer and gets you sharp on what you actually think and feel, right? So starting a podcast, right, or even just talking in public, talking to a camera like I'm doing right now, it forces you to really articulate this messy ball of thoughts that you have about, let's say, a topic or about your own life and what's going on with you. When you have to communicate that so that it's understandable to another person, it takes that ball and gets it in a nice string of words that actually makes sense, because you have to make it make sense to another person. Right? And if you're just in your head constantly and you have nobody to talk to, then you can't really even make sense of what you think and feel. And I think this is the case for a lot of people, right? Everybody's quite atomized these days, and a lot of people don't have anyone around that can listen to them. And so, I mean, I actually think that that's what a good therapist does, right? A good therapist actually sits and listens and asks you questions and probes you and gets you to flesh out what it is that you are actually feeling and thinking, and doesn't just tell you things and label you with problems or just tell you solutions, things for you to do. I think a good therapist is someone that sits and listens and gets you to flesh it out by asking you questions, right? And so that's kind of why starting a podcast, or at least talking in public, I think is actually a really, really good step for most people to take. Because again, it really forces you to communicate clearly and effectively so that you don't get misunderstood. And in the process, you actually figure out things about yourself and what you actually think. There's many instances where I'm talking to this camera, or I'm talking to a friend about, something that's happened to me recently, and I'm not even really clear about it myself, right? But in the process of talking about it, I say something and I go, yeah, you know what? That's actually a novel thought, or that's actually what I think. That's interesting. Let me write that down. Like I didn't know that was in my brain somewhere, but because I'm talking to you, it came out and it's clear now. So as much as this whole thing kind of became a meme and you might feel like you're going to receive judgment from other people by talking in public, I actually think that for a lot of people, that's a great thing to do. And if you're considering it, you should do it, right? Just start airing your thoughts publicly and see what happens, right? See how much clearer you can get in your own head about what you think as a consequence of talking in public, right? And as long as you keep an air of intellectual humility about yourself and you don't claim to know everything, right? Nobody can really speak ill of you for that, because you're just making sense of the world. You're trying to your best ability, and you get to involve other people in that process, right? So how I would sort of go about this is maybe start airing your thoughts to some close friends first, right? Start trying to engage in longer, deeper conversation with friends, as opposed to just, sort of the everyday shallow small talk that you normally do. Find those friends that you can speak to for long periods of time. I'm talking like 1.5, 2 hours, like really, talk about deep things with them. And start there, right? And you'll notice that in the process, again, you get much clearer on what you actually think, and it forces you to communicate that clearly. And then start doing it in public. Just start uploading on YouTube, right? For example. And you have no idea the opportunities and the things that can come to you if you just start. If you just start uploading. And you might sit there and think, well, nobody really cares what I have to say and what I have to think, but you might have some interesting things to say. And your life and your experiences and the sum total of everything that you've been through has given you a unique set of lenses through which you look at the world. And I say it's unique, but you'll be amazed to find that a lot of people on the internet and in the world are going to be able to relate to you, because they're going to have gone through similar things. And that relatability and you having the courage to actually speak in public about it could actually really influence someone's life, right? I can't understate the effect that me just starting this YouTube channel, which honestly wasn't that long ago, it's just a couple of months, right? I can't understate the effect that that's had on my life. And not just internally, where I feel like I'm a lot clearer on what I think, but the friends that I've made and the lives of people who have told me like, hey, you know, this video that you made, it really helped me. It really helped me to get started in online business, or it really helped me to rethink the way that I was dealing with this part of my life, and that really helped me. I could not have known that that was going to be the case. If I just kept sitting around thinking that nobody cares and you know, well, what do I have to say anyway, and who's really even going to listen, and I'm probably going to get shunned for it. If I just sat around thinking that the whole time, my life and some other people's lives would have been worse off as a result. So start speaking in public, start uploading. Don't think about the meme. Don't think about people, you know, are gonna talk shit about you, because they're gonna talk shit anyway, right? People who talk shit are gonna do it anyway, whether it's you or it's somebody else. So just start. Peace.